Well, a lot of people in Detroit are voting for Harris. Yes, I can say that. But when I'm in the communities that we live in, so I'm canvassing now. And so when I'm canvassing out in Detroit and in the other surrounding cities, I get a whole lot of different, a lot of people are voting for Trump. In Detroit too, and a lot of them don't want to say.
Voters.
Yes, and then especially I was out in Lincoln Park. So I got a lot of people saying they were voting for Harris in Lincoln Park versus Trump. But when I was out in Grosse Pointe, a lot of people were voting for Trump. Yeah, and we still had some people voting for Harris, but it's really mixed to me if you're out speaking to people versus what you hear.
Because I look at these polls that have her up 3 points. I find that very hard to believe. I feel like it's more of a coin toss.
I do. I think it's a coin toss.
I believe it's a toss.
I really, really do.
3 points, that's not a big increase.
No.
Right. Absolutely.
Because if let's say I go out every day, and I talk to 60 people, at least it's like 40 for Trump and a little bit less for come out, Detroit, wherever I am, because a lot of people said that they, like you said, and you said, the Democrats, they say their hands been tied, so we got to untie their hands and we going to do the Republicans now and see what they can do.
And my last question, because it was in the news this week, former President Obama had some words for black men in particular.
We had not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear.
I guess he thinks that some of the black men in places like Detroit gravitating towards Trump is because they, for whatever reason, aren't comfortable with a woman president.
That's true. I've got a lot of that.
Some black men didn't like that. They thought, why are you focusing exclusively on the black men? Because there's a lot of white men that might not be comfortable with a woman president. But do you feel like that's part of it if some of the black male population here is pulling for Trump?
Yes, because they, sometimes they're a little extra, I mean, and they don't want a woman because she might do something because she don't, I'm like, well, what does that do? Because you know how you act when certain times. I'm like, no. So, yeah, I do kind of, but they didn't like Barack because he was, they didn't like Barack a lot of them. They was like, I ain't vote for him, So I'm thinking those are the ones who didn't like him would vote for Trump.
Absolutely. And I've also talked to some black men that appreciate that Trump commuted the sentence for former mayor Kwame
Kilpatrick. That's the number one thing. I'll tell them, if I go to jail, call Trump.
He did not cancel the debt.
I don't care. If I'm out, I don't give a care about the debt.
But he didn't cancel Kilpatrick's?
Right.
The debt.
But he canceled the debt for
now, what does the
ones.
debt has to do with me getting out of jail? And I'm still owe it. I don't care. He let me out.
So you think if you're in jail, Trump's going to bail you out?
Listen, call Trump.
I don't know about that.
I'm telling you.
He called for the Central Park 5 to be
Wait a minute, let me
executed.
tell you about that now. See, that's what the media portrays.
No, it was a front page ad.
I know it was a front page. I was there working at that time. So if you are, Trump don't know nothing about legislation and all that stuff he did. So if I say the fact, they did all of this, I would want them to hang or to get the death penalty for all of the stuff they done. And I wanted it too. But once you look into it, that was a Democratic, what's her name? She was y'all prosecutor at the time. And so those children did not do it. It was up to her not to make that false accusation and have them go down there. And some of the men brought their children there.
Right, but part of being an adult is if you got it wrong,
You could say,
apologizing.
wait a minute, you can say that and they ain't gonna retract it, because here we got Reverend Sheffield. I love Reverend Sheffield, but I don't fool with him no more. They put all on the news. He beat his wife, he did this. I'm like, I know that man didn't beat that wife. She was coming there tearing up his house, and after they found out, they arrested him. They know he didn't do it. Did they come back and retract the story?
Right.
And so that, and he was running for Congress at that time.
Right.
And that messed him up, because the people were saying, oh, he beat his wife. I'm like, no, he didn't. So I know how the media is.
So my last question is, what is your message? Because right now the national media is saying Michigan, they're really not covering any of the issues we're talking about. They're just talking about the Arab American population and inflation. But if in 3 weeks Donald Trump happens to win Michigan, what should people know as the reason why?
Because we're so disappointed with the Democrats and their mishandling and misrepresenting. The communities aren't getting better. We're still waiting. There is no reparations for us. Nobody's coming to save us. We've been waiting for a very, very, very long time for bigger and better changes, and we don't see it coming. So if Trump wins, I would blame the Democrats and their lack of support to the communities and the people, the constituents.
And you feel the bigger and better changes are only happening for wealthier people who can't, because the community here can't afford to live in those high rises.
No, we have a new high rise. They done tore down the Joe Louis Arena to build a high rise for the rent being $10,000 a month. The lowest rent there would be, I think, about $2,500 to $3,000 a month. Right. And that's horrible. Then you got the Hudson building coming up. Nobody's going to be able to afford that downtown on Woodward. So she said build houses. Okay, are they going to build houses that we can afford? Because the houses that they're building here, right over there off of the Lodge Freeway, is $600,000. We cannot afford that. No. So you're going to build more houses for who? And who's going to be able to afford them? Because they've been tearing down houses. How much was it? For $25,000. That's how much Doug and them is tearing down the house. You could build a whole another little house for that.
And is Kamala Harris, her proposal to give first-time home buyers $25,000 credit, do you think that's enough?
No. And where you going to get the money from to give it to them? What pocket are you going to pick out of it? Is it going to be the billionaires? Or is it going to be us, the taxpayers, that middle class, as they said, to get the money to the people, the 25? Where it's going to come from?
And Darlene, I assume your final message is?
Don't vote for Donald Trump. I mean, that's real serious.
So is your message to vote for Harris, or just don't vote for Donald Trump?
Vote for Kamala. Let's try something different. I'm praying for a miracle 24/7.
Okay.
It's time for a miracle.
And I feel like your guys' message is she isn't something different.
No.
Nope, I just say that's just blowing in the wind. We keep getting, we just keep getting misled and misfed. All these sound bites sounding all good, but when it comes down to the action, we don't get none.
The action was, you there now, do something now.
Yeah.
Also, let's just call it what it is. These politicians need to start coming around other times than elections, because I see them coming around churches
for
and
your
whatnot around the election time,
That's
but
right.
I don't want to see them unless they're coming around before the election. I need to see them in the community. And I don't see any. Only person that I can say that in my community over there is Sri Tadadar. He does have a meeting every week with the constituents wherever he
Call
is at.
you every other day.
Yes, and my favorite person who was a constituent named Isaac Robertson, that was another one of my big time buddies. Isaac was a very instrumental person in this community, not just in his district. He worked with me at SEIU. He was an attorney. His mother ran for state representative when it was she termed out. Then we got him elected.
the position.
Isaac died a few years ago. So that was my rock. If he had been here, I don't know, we would have been doing so much, because he worked
Closed down that incinerator.
Yes, we worked to get that incinerator closed down. People were dying in record numbers over there for years and years. As soon as he got up there in the state legislature, we closed it down.
And I'd like to also ask, separate question here, where's the justice of the state of Michigan? Flint was poisoned, 10 years later?
You got Dana Nessel.
This current Attorney General, Dana Nessel, I mean, she basically sabotaged the investigation.
Yes, she did.
I mean,
Yes, she
you look
did.
at the stuff going on here, none of these people are being put in prison.
And she came here. I helped her campaign.
Dana Nessel.
Yes, and she told us, we asked about the election, that Duggan. She was gonna get on top of that and
Investigate.
everything. So did Gretchen. So I've been through with them ever since then, because they ain't done nothing.
When are you running for mayor?
I already called myself the mayor of the city of Detroit.
Got it.
Well, the good people that we do try to put in, they mess up the ballots so bad where they mess their names up. You don't know who, the people are not aware. And if you can't pay, you can't play. That's the
They
way I
have
see it.
22 people running for school board for 3 positions. Now, how is that? And no, right,
Thank you guys for taking the time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.